You know, a sudden blast of brilliance can just stop you cold. One moment you can't see it all, and then the next your world is just swallowed by a wall of light that's so intense it blinds and even disorients you, freezes you in place. But in the deepest darkness, even the smallest light becomes a tiny spark that can, well, change everything. Enter Jesus, who gives us an astonishing command about light. Hey, I'm Bishop Robert Gosselin of the Confessing Anglican Church, and we go live each week, twice. First on Tuesday morning at 6:30 a.m. Eastern Time, and then on Fridays, the end of our week, 6:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And we look into God's Word together. It's not for information. It's for formation, for clarity, and for the peace that only Christ can give. So welcome to the top spot on the internet for beverages with a bishop. Take a breath, settle your mind, and let's begin with the first word. So light is a strange thing. It can reveal, it can conceal, believe it or not, and it can overwhelm. A photonic barrier is, well, it's essentially a wall of light. It's something so bright that it just blinds you, even though it's made of the very thing that normally helps you see. Yeah, when that massive brilliance hits your retina, the photoreceptors overwhelm your own optic nerve, and they shut down your ability to perceive anything else. It can be disorienting and even immobilizing. Well, our verse today is Matthew 5:16. It's about maybe not even a different kind of light. You have to work that through. Matthew 5:16 says, "Let your light shine before others." So Jesus is speaking directly to the tension between darkness and illumination, between the absence of light and the presence, or even the overwhelming presence of it. So how does this work? Look, if you're standing in a well-lit office at noon, plenty of light, suddenly somebody shines a 5,000 lumen flashlight directly into your eyes. You're blind in an instant. I mean, too much brilliance becomes its own barrier. It overwhelms your senses, it immobilizes your mind, it even shuts down your ability to focus on anything else. Light can help you see, but overwhelming light can stop you cold. In fact, that's why I keep a very bright light next to my firearm. The ability to blind an attacker with a photonic barrier while engaging your weapon, that can be a lifesaver. We'll have a spiritual application to that at the end of this morning's message. Yet, the opposite is also true. I remember visiting a place called Mammoth Cave. It's in Kentucky. It's the longest cave system in the world. And we were down there underground. And at one point, the guide just literally said, "Stand by, we're going to turn off the lights." He flipped a switch. We were plunged into absolute darkness. I mean, deep underground, there is no ambient light at all. We were totally blind. We were waiting, usually your eyes will adjust. No light. I was holding my hand right in front of my face, couldn't see a thing. Then a single flashlight flicked on. It was nearly 100 meters away, but suddenly we could see. In utter darkness, even a small light becomes a beacon. Small light, massive impact. Jesus understood both realities. You see, the God who said, "Let light shine out of the darkness" when he created the world, is the same God who made his light shine in our hearts. If you've said yes to Jesus, then his light is already burning within you. And the question is whether or not, let me rephrase that. The question is not whether you have the light. The question is whether you're letting your light shine. The world needs your light. I mean, this world, in case you haven't looked around recently, is a very dark place. I won't even try to describe the images that I've received recently of Taliban executions in Afghanistan, or infants murdered by machetes in South Sudan, or Boko Haram executions in Nigeria, or even Christians in India being beaten inside a police station while the officers just stand by and do nothing. There are things that one can never unsee. But Jesus said, people don't light a lamp, then stick it under a bowl. Of course not. Light is meant to be seen. It's meant to illuminate. It's meant to guide. You may even be thinking, oh, come on, Bishop. We're not dummies. None of us are walking around turning on lights and then shutting them up behind closed doors. Of course we're not doing that. Are we? It's surprisingly easy to assume our light is obvious, to just believe that people will somehow notice our faith, our hope, our love, without us ever being intentional about showing it. It's even easier to slip into quiet corners and stay comfortable and convince ourselves that our light is shining, when in truth, maybe it's even barely visible. But here's the jarring truth we can't ignore. In a world battling the kind of darkness that we see everywhere, even a small light has a massive impact. You don't need to be some million-lumen super Christian. You don't need to blind unbelievers with the brilliance of your religion or overwhelm them with theological intensity. You just need to let your light shine faithfully, steadily, authentically. Because in a very, very dark place, even a small light stands out. Even a small light will show the way. So how do you become deliberate about shining? Well, first thing, you got to make sure you're connected to the light source. If you don't have a faith relationship with Jesus, you need to start there. Saying yes to Jesus changes everything, and then everything else flows from him. So if you don't have a faith relationship with Christ, put something in the comments, reach out, let's you and I talk about that, because I would love to introduce the two of you. Second, once you're connected, ask him for opportunities to let your light shine. And he will. And you don't need to start big. Mother Teresa said, we can't all do great things, but we can all do small things with great love. Small light, massive impact. Now, many of you know the question that I've learned and I ask all the time. I use it to open a door. It helps me let my light shine. Here's the question. If I were going to pray something for you personally, what would it be? And I use that question all the time. Often I'll put the words right now in. If I was going to pray something for you personally right now, what would it be? Yesterday, we were walking out of the church, and there's a feeding program that takes place at the church every week. And there was just somebody sitting there. They weren't hanging around, standing. They were sitting on the ground over to the side of the door and kind of looking pretty forlorn. I popped some things in the car. I walked over to him and I asked, hey, how you doing? Well, I'm doing okay. And what's your name? I'm Andrew. That's a good name. I said, hey, Andrew, if I was going to pray something for you personally right now, what would it be? And he looked at me and he said, right now. I said, yeah. And he began to tell me some of the things going on in his life right now. And I got to stop and pray with him right there, letting the light of Christ shine into the very darkness he was struggling with. That question opens doors. I've never had anyone tell me not to pray for them. So here's a shine your light goal for you. Learn that question and ask it once a day to someone you just connecting to. Then after that, pray with the people after they answer it. Right there. Friends, it'll stretch your faith. It'll change your life. All right, now here's the photonic barrier of faith. The light of Christ in you, you let it shine brightly, it can stop the enemy dead in its tracks. The brighter Christ's light burns in your heart, the more it blinds and disrupts and dismantles the enemy and his works of darkness. Evil cannot withstand the brilliance of Christ shining through his people. So that's the how of Matthew 5:16. Let your light shine before others. Can I share the why with you? See, the why is simple. So they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. You might be a little uncomfortable asking the question. It's not about your comfort. It's not even about your discomfort in asking the question. It's not about your fear. In fact, it's not about you at all. It's about him. It's about his glory. It's about you and I being called to advance his kingdom and rescue those who are perishing. So open the door. Step out of the shadows. Let Jesus give your small light massive impact. And thanks for the folks who are connecting online. Love to see your comments. I appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you all Friday morning, 6:30 a.m. Eastern Time for the first word.